Our stories are not real and made for entertainment purpose only. Subscribe to my channel for more stories. Now let's begin this one. I thought my retirement party would celebrate a life of hard work and love until my wife handed me divorce papers in front of everyone. But 43 phone calls revealed a truth that turned their betrayal into my triumph. My wife handed me divorce papers at my retirement party, then 43 calls proved they underestimated me. At 62, I stood at the cusp of retirement, my 35-year career as a high school principal in Asheville, North Carolina, a tapestry of challenges and joys. I'd led Westview High through budget cuts, teacher strikes, and a state championship, earning respect from students, staff, and parents. My office was a shrine of memories, photos of graduates, a worn desk where I'd counseled countless teens, a shelf of books I'd shared with my daughter, Sophie, now 27 and a lawyer in Raleigh. My wife, Diane, had been my partner for 30 years, her elegance and wit lighting up our home, or so I thought. Our son, Liam, 24, was studying abroad in London, his calls filled with dreams of becoming a historian. Together, they were my anchor, my reason for every early morning and late night. Retirement loomed like a new chapter, a chance to travel with Diane, visit Liam, and volunteer at the community center. The school board planned a grand party at the Grove Park Inn, a historic venue with mountain views, to honor my service. Diane helped organize it, her texts buzzing with details, catering, speeches, a slideshow of my career. My best friend, Carl, a retired math teacher, clapped me on the back. "You've earned this, Greg," he said, his grin wide. I believed it, picturing a night of laughter, toasts, and Diane's hand in mine, never suspecting the storm she'd unleash. The party was weeks away, but cracks were forming. Diane grew distant, her smiles forced, her evenings spent at book club stretching late. She'd snap at small things, my coffee mug on the counter, my habit of humming old jazz tunes. I chalked it up to stress, maybe menopause, and planned a surprise getaway to mend things. Sophie, during a call, seemed hesitant, her voice tight. "Is Mom okay, Dad?" she asked. I reassured her, blind to the truth. Even Carl noticed, saying, "Diane's off, man. Talk to her." But I trusted our love, our history, never imagining she'd betray me in front of everyone I knew. The Grove Park Inn glowed under chandeliers, the ballroom packed with 200 guest colleagues, former students, parents, and friends. I wore a charcoal suit Diane had picked, my speech cards in my pocket, nerves tingling with pride. The room smelled of rosemary and wine, a jazz quartet playing softly. Carl emceed, his jokes landing warmly, while Sophie, radiant in a blue dress, flew in to surprise me. Liam sent a video message, his grin lighting the screen, to the best dad. The slideshow flashed me at pep rallies, graduations, hugging students, each image a brick in my legacy. Diane took the stage, her burgundy gown catching the light, her smile dazzling. "Greg's given so much," she said, her voice smooth. I beamed, expecting a toast, then her tone shifted, cold and sharp. "But tonight, I'm giving him something else." She pulled an envelope from her clutch, striding to me as gasps rippled through the crowd. "Divorce papers, Greg," she said, loud enough for all to hear, sliding them into my hand. "I'm done." The room froze, Sophie's eyes wide, Carl's jaw dropping. "You've been controlling, neglectful," she added, her lies slicing deep. I deserve better. The papers burned in my hand, the crowd's whispers a roar in my ears. I stammered, "Diane, why here?" She smirked, turning to a man in the back, Richard Hale, a wealthy developer I'd met at a fundraiser, his arm now around her. "We're together," she said, unapologetic. Humiliation swallowed me, my legacy tarnished in seconds. Sophie rushed to my side, her voice fierce. "Dad, don't let her do this." Carl ushered me to a side room, the party collapsing into murmurs. I sank into a chair, Diane's words controlling, neglectful replaying, each a wound. Had I failed her, was this my fault? Sleep evaded me that night, the divorce papers on my nightstand, Diane's absence a void in our home. Sophie stayed, her lawyer's mind kicking in. "She planned this, Dad," she said, her eyes blazing. "We'll fight." Carl dropped by, his anger matching hers. "Richard's bad news," he said. "I saw them at a bar months ago. Their support was my lifeline, but doubt gnawed at me. Had I been blind to Diane's unhappiness, was Richard her escape? I dug into the papers, finding a clause claiming I'd hidden assets, a lie to justify her alimony demands. Sophie, scanning them, frowned. She's after your pension. My retirement savings, modest but hard-earned, were at stake. I checked our accounts, noticing withdrawals $50,000 gone, transferred to an account I didn't recognize. Sophie traced it to a shell company linked to Richard, her legal contacts confirming his history of shady deals. "They're in this together," she said, her voice grim. Then came the breakthrough, my phone. As principal, I'd recorded calls with parents and staff, a habit to track agreements. Diane, unaware, had called me 43 times over the years, her voicemails saved on an old cloud backup. I listened, heart pounding, as her voice revealed a plot. "Richard, once Greg retires, will take his savings," she said in one, dated 6 months ago. Another, "the party's perfect he'll be to shock to fight." Others detailed her affair, her plan to smear me as controlling to sway a judge. Richard's voice appeared, plotting to invest my pension in his failing condo project. The calls were a goldmine, proof of their scheme. Sophie called her mentor, attorney Linda Voss, who reviewed the recordings. "This is fraud and defamation," Linda said. "Play them in court." Carl suggested a bolder move, confront Diane and Richard publicly, at a community event where their allies would see. I hesitated. Exposing Diane meant airing our pain, but Sophie's resolve, and Liam's emailed words, "You're stronger than this, Dad," pushed me forward. This wasn't just about money, it was about my name, my family, my truth. For weeks, we transformed into a relentless team of detectives, each of us driven by a shared mission to uncover the truth and reclaim what was mine. The betrayal stung, but it also ignited a fire in us, a determination to expose Diane's deception and Richard's complicity with undeniable clarity. Sophie, my daughter, with her lawyer's mind as sharp as a blade, took charge of organizing the chaos. She meticulously compiled the 43 voicemails Diane had carelessly left on my phone, each one a careless slip, a nail hammered into the coffin of her lies. She crafted a timeline, precise and unforgiving, mapping out the dates and times of each call, cross-referencing them with Diane's supposed whereabouts. The voicemails revealed her voice, casual and conniving, discussing plans with Richard as if I were a mere obstacle to be sidestepped. Sophie's spreadsheet became our war map, each entry a step closer to justice. I, meanwhile, dove into the financial records, my hands trembling as I unearthed bank statements that laid bare Diane's treachery. There they were, transfers from our joint account to Richard's failing condo development company, each one bearing her unmistakable signature. The amounts were staggering, siphoned off in increments small enough to evade notice but large enough to drain my pension, my life savings, into the coffers of Richard's sinking empire. Each statement felt like a fresh wound, a reminder of the trust I'd placed in her, now shattered. Yet, with every discovery, my resolve hardened. I wasn't just fighting for money. I was fighting for the truth, for the years I'd given her, for the life we'd built together. Carl, my old friend and colleague from the school, brought his own tenacity to the table. He spent late nights poring over school records, digging through the digital archives of my office computer. What he found was damning. A trail of emails Diane had sent to Richard, sent from my own desk during her so-called book club nights. The messages were brazen, filled with coded language about their plans, their meetings, and their mockery of my obliviousness. He's too buried in his books to notice. One email read, Diane's words cutting deeper than any blade. Carl printed each one, his jaw tight with indignation, and added them to our growing dossier. His loyalty, unwavering despite the years, was a lifeline in those dark days. We enlisted a former student, now a private investigator named Marcus, whose sharp instincts and resourcefulness proved invaluable. Marcus traced the financial threads of Richard's condo project, uncovering a paper trail that painted a grim picture. The development was teetering on the edge of bankruptcy, its funding dried up, its investors fleeing. Richard's desperation had driven him to Diane, and Diane had delivered my pension as the lifeline to keep his dream afloat. Marcus's report was thorough, complete with property records, loan defaults, and a timeline of Richard's financial collapse. It was the kind of evidence that could sway a courtroom, but we weren't aiming for a quiet legal victory. We wanted impact, a public reckoning that would leave no doubt about their deceit. Linda, our neighbor and a notary public, became our anchor in ensuring the evidence was ironclad. She reviewed every document, notarizing statements and affidavits with a steady hand, her calm demeanor a counterbalance to our rising emotions. She understood the stakes, not just the legal battle, but the personal toll of exposing someone I'd loved. "This is your truth, Greg," she said softly, stamping another page. "Make it count." Her words stayed with me, grounding me as we prepared for the moment we'd chosen to strike. The Asheville Chamber of Commerce Gala was the perfect stage. Richard, ever the charismatic opportunist, was slated to be the keynote speaker, with Diane at his side, playing the role of the devoted partner. The event promised an audience of 200 local leaders, judges, council members, business tycoons, and community influencers all gathered in one room, a captive audience for our revelation. Sophie, with her lawyer's charm and a few well-placed calls, secured us an invitation, her voice smooth as silk, as she navigated the social circles I'd long avoided. "We'll only get one shot," she said, her eyes fierce with determination. "Let's make it unforgettable." Liam, my son, flew in from London just days before the gala, his presence a quiet but powerful reinforcement. He'd always been my rock, even from across the ocean, and seeing him step off the plane brought a lump to my throat. "Show them who you are, Dad," he said, his hand firm on my shoulder, his voice steady with a conviction that bolstered my own. His belief in me, in us, was a reminder that this fight wasn't just mine, it was for our family, for the legacy Diane had tried to steal. We built a presentation that was nothing short of a masterpiece, a carefully crafted narrative that wove together the threads of betrayal. Sophie formatted it with legal precision, each slide a damning piece of evidence. The voicemails, time-stamped and transcribed. The bank statements, highlighted to show Diane's transfers. The emails, with their incriminating words laid bare. And a single text from Diane to Richard, uncovered from her phone records, that read, "Greg's clueless, we're set." The words burned in my chest. But they also fueled me. Carl, ever the educator, rehearsed my speech with me, helping me find the balance between righteous anger and dignified resolve. "Speak from the heart," he urged, "but let the evidence do the talking." I dug deeper, unearthing a photo that felt like a final blow. Diane and Richard, arm in arm, at the condo site, dated months before her book club excuses began. The image, pulled from a local real estate listing, showed them smiling, carefree, while I'd been at home, trusting her. It was proof of their affair, undeniable and stark. Then came a statement from Mrs. Ellis, a colleague who'd overheard Diane at a local cafe, bragging to a friend about fooling Greg and securing the deal. Her sworn affidavit, notarized by Linda, added a human weight to our case, a witness to Diane's callousness. The evidence was overwhelming, a fortress of truth that could not be ignored. Yet, as we finalized our plan, my heart ached with a pain that no evidence could erase. Diane had been my love, my partner. The woman I'd built a life with through decades of shared dreams and quiet moments. How had we come to this? How had the woman who once laughed with me over morning coffee, who held my hand through life's storms, become the architect of such betrayal? The question haunted me. But it also sharpened my purpose. This wasn't just about exposing her, it was about reclaiming my dignity, my truth, and the future she'd tried to bury. As the gala approached, we stood united, Sophie with her fierce intellect, Carl with his steadfast loyalty, Liam with his quiet strength, Linda with her meticulous care, and Marcus with his unyielding pursuit of the facts. The stage was set, the evidence ready, and my heart, though bruised, was resolute. Diane and Richard would face the truth in front of Asheville's elite, and I would stand tall, not as a victim, but as a man who refused to be broken. The Chamber Gala was a glittering affair, the Biltmore Estates ballroom alive with clinking glasses and power suits. Richard, in a tailored tux, took the stage, preaching about community investment, Diane glowing beside him. I sat with Sophie, Liam, and Carl, my laptop ready, Dad's old watch on my wrist for courage. The crowd applauded Richard, unaware of the storm I'd unleash. I'd arranged with the event organizer, a former parent, to speak, citing community gratitude. As Richard stepped down, I stood, my voice steady despite my racing heart. "I have a story to share," I said, connecting my laptop. The screen lit up with Diane's voicemail. "Richard, we'll take his savings." The crowd gasped as I played call after call 43, in total, her voice plotting, Richard's agreeing. I showed bank transfers, emails, the photo, Mrs. Ellis's statement. "They tried to ruin me," I said, eyes on Diane. "This is the truth." The room erupted. Diane's face draining, Richard stammering, "It's a Lee." But the evidence was undeniable. A judge in the audience, Honorable Clara Wade, approached, her voice cold. "This is serious fraud." She ordered an investigation, the crowd turning on Diane and Richard. Sophie's proud nod, Liam's tight hug, and Carl's grin were my anchors. The gala, meant to crown their scheme, became their undoing. I left with my head high, my legacy intact. Diane and Richard's fall was swift. The police investigated, charging them with fraud and conspiracy, their assets frozen. Diane's alimony claim collapsed, her reputation shattered. Richard's condo project folded, his investors suing. They moved to Florida, their names toxic in Asheville. I didn't gloat, their ruin wasn't my goal. My goal was my family, my peace, my truth. The divorce was finalized, my pension safe. I moved to a smaller house, its porch perfect for morning coffee. Sophie and Liam visited often, their laughter healing me. Carl and I started a mentorship program at Westview, guiding at-risk teens, my principal's heart still beating. The community rallied, parents thanking me for my stand, students naming a scholarship after me. I volunteered at the library, reading to kids, their eyes wide with wonder. The betrayal lingered, though. Diane's love, once my foundation, was a ghost I mourned. Sophie, sensing my pain, planned a family trip to the Smoky Mountains, just us three. By a campfire, Liam said, "You showed us strength, Dad." Sophie added, "And love." I hugged them, tears falling, their words a balm. A year later, Diane sent a letter, apologizing, blaming Richard. I kept it, not for forgiveness, but as a reminder, I was enough. The 43 calls didn't just save my savings, they proved my worth, a legacy no one could take.